So originally I had this really introspective type of video, but I feel like that's a little too deep to put on the channel. So the second best thing is to make this video, and this will be my thoughts on every anime part in JoJo. And one interesting thing here is that I will be going off script because I want to make this more honest with what I do immediately think of with each given part and how I really felt about it all together, rather than like trying to equalize it with all like good things here, bad things there. It's just going to be whatever comes off of the top of my mind. But one of the problems with going off script is that I can't make my script and captions link up together as easily as possible because there is no script. So I will be putting this website thing into the description and into the comment section. I'll pin it so that if you have a language that you speak, like English or any other language, literally, then you can just, oh, hey, I know English and this language. I'm going to caption it up so that other people that do speak my language can see the video, and that'll be really great. I think I'm going to be trying to do that from every video that I post from now on, and I might even go back to older videos. So yeah, that'll be really cool. Now going on to part 1 for the Phantom Blood adaptation, I'm going to tell you immediately off the bat, the first thing that comes to mind when I think about the Phantom Blood adaptation is the Sunlight Yellow Overdrive. And I don't want to, because animation is a very hard thing, obviously, right? And I don't want to put anything to assume as to what wasn't budgeted here, what wasn't this or what wasn't that. But if you really do look at the Sunlight Yellow Overdrive, like when he's doing the barrage of punches, like the whole Ora thing, the thing is a PNG being flipped like left and right, like it's like really, if you really slow it down, it's a PNG being flipped like back and forth. Or at least like a few of them just being flipped like back and forth, and it's really polarizing to when you like really go back at it, and it's just like this is supposed to be this really high moment for Jonathan, and it's just like, oh wow, this didn't exactly come out the way that I thought it would. But I do give huge credit to like the voice acting in that instance and altogether the animation as a whole, because I'm like, I don't want to be rude about it, but even honestly, like it was just pretty solid for them starting off like that. Aside from that, I do want to say that I did think that the pacing was not exactly, I don't want to say odd, but there were key things that I do think, like I guess like a specifically thing that the Zeppeli and Jonathan training thing where they fought against Wang Chan, which it was a short-lived thing altogether. The Phantom Blood manga is a very short manga, but I feel as though it would have been cool to include that because I don't know, I feel like we got like double the amount of episodes with Battle Tendency, and if Phantom Blood was given like maybe an extra episode to do some of the stuff that they had missed, like somewhere in the middle with it, with the whole 77 rings thing, just to include it, give some I guess a build-up of lore to Tarkus and Bruford, but I guess that doesn't even really do much for it. It's really hard to put a lot of this onto the anime in specific, because the thing with Phantom Blood is that the mishaps in writing and stuff and like that is kind of already been there, so you can't really solely put it on the anime. Granted, it would have been cool to see some stuff being picked up, but to be honest with yourself, it's like, oh, JoJo, it just got confirmed for anime. This is going to be their, in quotes, like first try for this type of stuff, even though we were having like the Stardust Crusaders OVA before and the Phantom Blood movie, but that got like axed. So yeah, I do think though that in the future, I think way down the line, that part 1 and then on is gonna get like another adaptation, but I think it's like really down the line because they did really good with this, but it's one of those things that I do feel should get another adaptation again. Like it goes, because JoJo's Bizarre Adventure as a whole, it goes down the line of some of the biggest and most impactful anime ever. So it's just like until it's like done like purely right, I think like really right as an adaptation, I think that they will try it again sooner or later, because that kind of happens with other stuff. Granted, it hasn't happened yet with DBZ, because I think maybe because like the DBZ anime still holds up. I think One Piece might be one of those anime that actually do that. This is getting like off topic, but like it's a couple stuff you can see it in the future that it's going to get another adaptation for the earlier stuff. Well, no, One Piece has those like episodes where they do like the arcs and like a whole wrap up thing, but that's aside from the point. Like if I was to bring it up an example, like Berserk, like you know how Berserk and JoJo is like around the same echelon of huge, like, impactful and stuff like that. Berserk will like hopefully keep on getting animated until it's done right. I mean, like it got good with like the whole like 97 anime thing, but that's aside from the point. This is the problem with going off script. My mind really does to wander. It wanders really far off. But aside from that, of the stuff that I've mentioned before with Phantom Blood, I think that the cast, the voice acting cast, was great. I think it's phenomenal. I think everyone is fit for their part. It was really, really good there. But and the problems that I mainly had with it weren't really things on the anime itself. It's just Phantom Blood like that. Jonathan's always going to be a really cool Joestar to me, but the part does have some error towards it. I think I also do have some sort of bias because the thing with me and Phantom Blood is I do have this love for certain older books and stuff like that, like Bram Stoker's Dracula. And if you read that, you're gonna be like, oh wow, Jonathan and Dio and like Dracula, and that's kind of the thing. Like a lot of the mangaka that we look up to nowadays, they read these ye old legends and stuff like that and adapted it into their work because like they were the original. So there's always adaptations and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. There's really not much to say. If you don't like Phantom Blood, I'm not gonna hold it against you. A read of Dracula, maybe you can be all like, oh cool, I get the references and stuff like that. But honestly, I don't know if it's gonna be enough. You can play Castlevania if that's gonna do it for you. But yeah. Now, part 2, Battle Tendency. Battle Tendency, man, it is very, very interesting. I think that a lot of people love the way that Battle Tendency was adapted. I think I do like it because like the style choices and all that. The opening, it's some of the most wild stuff. Like that's like one of the most JoJo openings that people like recognize it for. It's just like, wow, this is the epitome of JoJo feeling, like that whole sensual and colorful feeling and all that type of stuff, you know, like that's what Battle Tendency was, explosive and all that stuff, and it was very, very nice. But I think some of the gripes that I had with Battle Tendency, it's unfortunate that gripes are the first thing that I think of. I do think that like there's this shadow that like cuts off the anime character's face. Like if you see, like it'll connect from like the top of the hairline and cut right down through the nose and then end off on the side of the face, and it's a shadow. And that shadow is on Joseph or any other character a lot of the time. They always have this shadow. And that's always something that like bothered me when it didn't even call for it. Like it'd be like a bright sunny time and then it's just all like, okay, so here's this shadow that crosses across the face. And it's not even, I don't know. I think I'm more bothered by it because I make thumbnails for it. And then I'm just like, oh wow, like this line is just like there. I can't even exposure it out or anything like that. But that was a unrelated grab, I guess. In Battle Tendency, again with the plot, I can't really, it feels like a Joseph OVA, the way that other characters get blindsided and stuff like that, and how it's just strictly for Joseph. But I honestly, I can't even hold it against like the anime for that. The anime by itself did pretty good, I think. Like it did a great adaptation. And the reason why I say this, you really want to consider what we were working with the Battle Tendency manga. Like they really went off with this, because what Battle Tendency was manga wise, at least if you read about it, I think people liked Battle Tendency, but one of the things that was always attributed to Battle Tendency was the anatomically incorrect JoJo characters, like when Joseph would have his arm extend past the manga pages, and it's just all like, okay, so that's a really long arm. And they would have moments like that. Even Phantom Blood had that in the manga, but there was just obviously a lot of cleanup that they were gonna have with the with the anime. And then they sprinkled in a lot of their own flavor with these color shifting stuff and this mood change and all that type of stuff that JoJo is known for. So it was really cool to see that put into action. I do think that the voice actors did a great job. I think the BGM was great too. An unrelated thing, I really, if you do like battle tendency, or if you want like, I don't know, some more stuff about it, just because I feel like you should check out this video that I'd done, Joseph Joestar being like the Sherlock Holmes of JoJo, because that's really what Araki had, I guess, intended. I think that's kind of what the thing was going on, because if you really look at that video that I did, Joseph is meant to be this observation master, and it's pretty interesting because I think Araki does have a lot of knowledge of his own series, where he's just like, I can make Hamon be this future sightseeing stuff incorporated into the character. In addition to that, I don't know, like he had the idea of Hermit Purple-esque stuff, like, oh, I'm gonna make contact with you and probably like see the future in some type of way. Like, it's just like, how is he gonna be able to do this? Or even just something that works off instinct, like how Joseph lifted the Redstone Evasion and just be like, oh wait, maybe I should do this. And it's something like that. Like, I feel like Araki has always had this ability that connected with all of his stuff all together. It's just that I don't know if he knew what it was originally, but I think that was the foreground of what stands were, aside from when like he went over to Egypt and got the idea of stands there. But yeah, huge thing too about the anime, the scene where Caesar dies. If you honestly, if you say spoilers, like what the heck, like this was a video titled that said it's going to be about every animated JoJo part. I feel like at that point you have to expect it. But the time where Caesar had died, even when I wasn't exactly all the way attached to Caesar, because I feel like he had like a death of the character type thing going on when they made all of these ties, like they built it up so well, and then he just like said like a big hard F you to Joseph and went about going about his own stuff because like the pride of the Zeppeli family and da stuff. I was like, well, that's really out of character. But the fact of the matter is that when he did die and they had that whole like the whole opera stuff playing in the back, and Lisa's cigarette is backwards, and just like that pain that happened in the manga, the way that they had adapted, not the music part, but like essentially the way that they adapted the manga to the anime is like, I think not 1 for 1, but like better than 1 for 1, honestly, because I'm like, wow, this has so much emotion, so much feeling. Everyone that like watches JoJo can like almost recognize the Caesar death music like immediately. Like they're just like, oh no, Caesar. They're like, oh my god, my pain, oh my goodness. Like it's that feeling, and they were able to bring it out of people like that, and it's just great. Also, and in addition to that, I think that you should go check out the Inherited Soul JoJo event stuff and see when Joseph's voice actor actually performed that same scene, because it was really good. If you can find it, if you weren't there, that happened. I'm pretty sure it's somewhere on the internet. Everything is always somewhere on the internet. But yeah. Next, I am going on into part 3, and it's really I think it's really messed up that the first thing that I think of in part 3 is that I've been ruined by just my interest with getting into art and stuff like that and seeing what people say about JoJo. And the first thing that comes up into my mind when thinking about part 3 is the shoulders. And it shouldn't be that. It should be all types of things that they have done, but everyone was like so adamant on like, man, these shoulders look mad different. And you really look at the Stardust Crusaders manga, you're like, yeah, okay, that's fair. It's pretty damn different. You're like, wow, Jotaro looks a lot different. And then you're like, yeah, Jotaro looks a lot different. And then you're just like, wow, Jotaro's not like smiling as much as he did in the manga either. And it's like, it's like you keep on thinking about the stuff like the translation over it, just like, oh man, there's a lot of stuff that's not messed up necessarily, but it's a lot different. And in addition to that, people also have gripes with Stardust Crusaders pacing. Like, I think was it Empress was an example of the arcs. And I do want to say that if you do have gripes with Stardust Crusaders for the similar reasons that I've mentioned, the manga is pretty clean. I think that if you really want to go get a good look at what part 3 was, just a double check on the manga would never be a bad thing. Dio, manga canon Dio, like the way that he looks is pretty, I don't want to say pretty different, but there's a lot more recognizability, I think that's the word for it, with manga Dio, because that's the Dio that got attributed into all media and stuff like that. That Dio and like Heritage for the Future. Like when you see people think about Dio and people use Dio stuff, that's usually the Dio that it all came from, because he looked like that altogether. Like that was his original thing. Anime Dio looks a good grip different. It's, I don't want to say too far off, but I think if I show this art on the screen of my friend Mikey, it's really like it's really different. Like this is what his true to manga Dio looks like, and it's a good grip different, I'd say. So I don't want to say I don't want to say anime Dio was like a bad thing. I think it was clean. It's just that people have like this different idea of Dio, and it's kind of cooler realistically. But on to the other notes of Stardust Crusaders. I think that if you do see a couple of scenes, I'm gonna say like the one where they were all laughing at the stand user Wheels of Fortune, you're gonna see that like they have this washed out fade to them, and I don't think they were initially colored like that. I think they were initially colored like with a bit more saturation, and then they were taken down because they're out in like the desert and stuff like that. But I feel like even with them being in the desert, I would probably like a bit more saturation on characters, because people have this thing where like they're just like, oh man, like the colors looked really, really washed out, and I would hope that would not be the case. Like, and I'm just like, I don't have too much background in anime that does take place in like deserts and stuff like that, but they'll use examples like something like called Magi, for example. And they're like, oh, Magi is very consistent with like their coloring, and even like when they go over to areas that are like should be ideally drier, there is like some sort of color change difference, but it isn't as drastic as the one in Stardust Crusaders. And I'm like, that's fair. I always felt like there was some sort of thing with it, but I don't want to always propose it, because I don't want to be like, oh, well, this is my thing, but I don't really have an art background, so I don't exactly know how, I don't want to say valid, because everyone's opinion is valid, but I didn't know how valid it is. But yeah, honestly though, but to give some huge pros, oh my goodness, how they did stands in this part, beautiful. Like this is, like stands were cool in the manga, obviously, right? But there was like when you look into like the really early versions of like Star Platinum, you're all like, that is a guy, that is a man, that is a real life person in a ghost form. And it like he had like Jotaro's face almost, and it was like really, I don't want to say disturbing, but it was like, this is a real person. But the more that the manga gets like further on, it becomes like more stand-like what we know it for. But the way that the anime does, just straight manga, straight anime, like stand out the gate, end of manga type art style type thing. And I'm just all like, whoa, this is really sick. Star Platinum has like all the flavor and color to it. Look at this stand, just radiant, just flowing, beautiful. And then you have other stands like Magician's Red, Hierophant Green, just Silver Chariot. It's like, wow, this looks so sick. I think Geb looks like amazing. As I'm like, this is the saturation I needed in the desert, because I'm like, wow, this whole environment needed a lot more color to it. And you actually got some of the most color in that arc, I guess, like in that whole 24 episode thing right there, because like there was like the part 2 of Stardust Crusaders. You got the most color in there in Duel's like final couple of minutes, when like Jotaro was on his way to get him, and they had the whole standoff and everything like that, because you saw how much animation and stuff was going on like that, and all that flavor on the screen. You're like, oh, juicy, delicious, amazing, tasty, like all that type of stuff. And it was just like, man, this was a good time here. I wish we had more of that all together. And honestly, that's kind of really how I felt. But yeah, it was clean. I think Stardust Crusaders was clean. It's just that the gripes that everyone does have with it, I'm like, these are fair things. Like, realistically, like, this isn't something you get mad about someone saying as a JoJo fan. If someone was to be like, oh, I had these feelings when I was watching it, realistically, it's like, yeah, it's fair. That's that's a lot of the stuff that we say too, you know, and it's nothing you really hold against them like that. So yeah, part 4, nothing's wrong with part 4. It was beautiful. Part 4 was amazing. I love part 4. The anime adaptation it's just one of it's literally, because here's the thing, every new part is going to end up being the best looking JoJo part, and I do think that we haven't got out to Golden Wind yet. I do think Golden Wind's like the best looking one, but part 4 was like beautiful. Like, I think that there's 4 and 5 are in this separate tier, I'd say, and it's just great. It's amazing. I love the color. I love how, like, not soft the characters look, but it's just it's like, oh wow, this is so peaceful on my eyes, on my eyeballs. This is so nice. Wow, why does everybody look so good? These stands, this is menacing. This guy, he's blowing up people with his cat stand, and it's like, oh my goodness. But the colors look so good, and the animation looks so good. Am I really upset? Even the guy looks so good. Like, this is a great part. And it was great. And the voice acting, Kira Queen, like, I'm like, oh my god, I feel like this man. Yeah, even though you shouldn't, because that guy's murderer, and you know you shouldn't feel like him. But you know, everybody, like, especially with Josuke and Okuyasu, unrelated to the Okuyasu stuff going viral on TikTok, I think that's hilarious. I will put one right here. The guy swipes the dog. I think that's hilarious. That it was. I'm like, this is JoJo embodiment. But yeah, they did all a great job. I think the anime made me like Koichi a lot more. But I do feel bad. I left him out in the last video. If you watch the last video, the one we're making strong, I left him out. If you didn't notice, I guess it's not that much of my fault, because we both didn't notice. But Koichi wasn't there. But yeah, everyone looks amazing here. I think Rohan, oh my god, Rohan looks amazing. The color changes that everyone goes through, Rohan's multiple outfits always looking good. That great looking man. Everybody's just having a great old happy time in this very mysterious town. One of the most beautiful JoJo parts. I honestly, I'm not gonna be honest with you. I'm going to be honest with you. There's some times, like in the part 4 anime, you gotta keep it a stack. I'm like, this looks better than Golden Wind. There's also a lot of times in Golden Wind that looks like, oh, it looks better than part 4, but like part 4, it's a pretty big standard. I understand why, like, they're like, oh man, we're gonna take some time from making part 4 to make part 5. It's like, we really got to figure out how we're gonna go about this. We have to level up hard, because part 4, whoo, that's some fire. Great part. Not even if we're gonna go about the plot point too. Even then, I love Mystery JoJo. That's always great. Mystery JoJo's great JoJo. And finally, for Golden Wind, yeah, it's good, solid, good old part, really nice. But on the real, one of the things that I really did like in Golden Wind, a lot of anime have this. JoJo had this a lot too, but I think they really amplified it in part 5. Is that there's these panning shots of this really big animation, and if you stitch the picture together, you have a lot of these really good stitches. It's amazing. I will show you a few of them on the screen, and it's just these really big PNGs at that point, but that's not how the animation stuff works. These are just panning shots, and it just looks so beautiful, because you're just like, all of this could not be fit into one screen, so they didn't do it like that. They panned it, and panning is it's pretty smart to do so. Like, there's a lot of shots you can have in an anime, and I think this is one of the ones that I just really do have an appreciation for, because they really work on the said thing that they're drawing in it, and it's just all like, wow, I want to get all this glory and all this power into this screen, but 1920 by 1080, like, it's not gonna fit it. It's a really big picture, so we have to do a panning shot, and it pays off regardless. I also like that with the anime coming out and all that type of stuff, people did develop like this bigger love for Diavolo, because you can feel it more that he's this secluded, cocky little just ass. Like he's just so he's terrible. That's why he's great, essentially. And like, for example, like when he's looming around Giorno, being all like, "Oh man, I really beat you," and he's just like just flowing around, and his hair is flying, and it's just like, "Oh man, I'm really clowning you right now." Grown ass man. Giorno's like 15. You're doing this? You're really doing this. And it's amazing because he's like, "Yeah, man, fuck them kids. Like, it doesn't matter to me. I don't care. I'll do whatever it takes to win." And I'm just all like, wow, that's amazing. That's terrible. That's great. I love it. I hate it. It's so much. So it's just perfect. I also like they took I want to say not a lot of non-original canon direction. I just think that the way that they adapted, I guess, like some of the backstories and stuff like that was interesting. Like it's more than not. I think the Fugo one was really. I feel like that's always an uncomfortable area to get into, anime, even fiction wise. It makes it's an uneasy feeling. But when Fugo beat the shit out of the guy, I was like, well, at least that happened. That's good. at least at the bare minimum. But for the rest of the thing with I guess the anime, I really do love the color choices that they have taken, because Araki color styles is just like the way that he changes stuff in the game. I'm just like, oh, this looks so good, but it's like, man, when do we get to see this stuff? In the anime, they're like, you know what, that one anime time where the colors were different in the video game thing, you thought we wouldn't remember that? Boom, it's in the anime. You thought we remember this? Boom, it's in the anime. Just adding stuff for the hell of it. I'm just like, wow, that's just great. Also, with Fighting Gold being like worked on by like the same people that work on stuff with like Evangelion, and I'm all like, wow, that's really good. Both openings are really good, and the outros, oh man, wow. Jodeci. Like, they really had Jodeci and JoJo, and I was all like, oh, we in my territory, bro, big bro, we in my area. This is how we get down. This is how we get down with the old. I'm like, that's me essentially. I'm all like, that's my type of music. When I was posted up in them barbershops, get them all lined up, I was like, yeah, man, Jodeci, that's where it's at, and I love it. But I think there's not really too much I can say that, because I think you can't. When talking about the anime adaptation, to correlate stuff like, I guess, like a lot of the plot stuff or whatever you felt about it, it's like, well, that's kind of what it's been like. It's the manga's already like that, like some stuff at least, the majority of the stuff. So it'd be weird to pinpoint in certain things that were just already happened. But yeah, as for the adaptation, I think it was phenomenal. I think people really got a good look at part 5, and they're like, oh wow, man, those mistranslations that made me think that this was like one of the worst parts, where that really messed me up. And I'm just like, yeah, even though that they retranslated it for a while now, but yeah, waiting for an anime to come out, that's cool. We did that, and it paid off. And now on to part 6. At least we're waiting for it, and right now we're just in a really weird grace period. The only thing we got is a PNG, and that's just funny. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Now about like doing other videos like this, like non-scripted ones, I don't know how often I'll do that, because people love when I do scripted stuff, so that's usually gonna be the case. If it's fun for me to go off script, but it's like more cohesive on for other people when I do script, because I show a lot of signs of ADHD, and like sometimes it's like it is hard to like work on off script and even script stuff. So yeah, thank you for 300k, and yeah, this is really wild being 23 now, because my birthday is gonna be past. I don't know when this video is gonna be uploaded, but yeah, for those that reached to this point of the video, give me your favorite anime moment. The other people won't know why they're putting their favorite anime moment inside of the comments. I mean, maybe people just do that just because, but just put yours there just because. That's gonna be great. So thank you all for watching. Hopefully I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, peace out and Godspeed.